Hello everyone. This is the Final Four weekend recap and the preview of the championship game. I'll tell you, this has been one heck of a NCAA tournament. Very exciting. I've had a monster winning percentage. I don't even know what the numbers are, but it's huge. It's one of the best I've ever had. As far as the games on Saturday, I won easily with Connecticut. Initially, I laid one with Kentucky, and then later, as the betting market took the money on, put the money on Wisconsin, it went down to pick 'em. I even saw Wisconsin won in a couple spots, so I took more and more on that, and I was very happy with the outcome. Feel bad for Florida and Wisconsin. They put up a great effort, great season, especially by Florida, winning 31 in a row, and they just weren't. They weren't a matchup for Connecticut when it came down to guard play. And then you think that the guard play, they're going to hit out all their outside shots. Well, that's not really the way it worked out. Connecticut was able to drive to the bucket. Daniels made a big difference. He had 20 points, 10 rebounds. Shabazz, of course, he's arguably the best player in the field, but there's a lot of great players. And, of course, Boatwright was complimentary. He did a fantastic job. He's a great player as well. So the three of them were critical in shutting down the guard play for Florida. The guards for Florida only had 7 points. Wilbekin was a non-factor, totally taken out of the game. I got it. Hats off to Kevin Ollie. This is a new, fresh coach. He had a big NBA career where he bounced around a lot. I think it was with 10 teams. He had a lot of very short-term contracts, but Jim Calhoun believed in him. He got him this job at UConn, and he molded this team together, and he's doing a hell of a job. Floor coach, he makes a lot of adjustments. I love the way he changed to the three-guard lineup and took Florida right out of it, because Florida opened up 16-4. It looked like it was going to be a massive blowout. I was kind of nervous for my bet and for my customers, but UConn made the adjustments. Ollie made the adjustments. Three-guard lineup and changing off to the zone made a huge difference. So when it gets to the championship game, I don't think we can say anybody has a coaching advantage. UConn deserved this. Unbelievable the way that they've been winning. They were way behind St. Joe's back on March 20th, and probably should have lost that game. But a miracle, they come back. They win it in overtime by 8 points, cover a 5-point line, which is tough for the bettors, including me. I had St. Joe's in that game plus the 5. So I lose that one, but they come back and they beat Villanova by 12. Then they beat Iowa State by 5, Michigan State by 6, and then, of course, Florida by 10. To beat Florida, the number 1 seed, by 10 points, getting 7, that is a monster outcome. And it just shows you how well they're playing at this time. Now, we move on to game number 2. You know, they talk about the Wichita-Kentucky game as being the best matchup, the best game played in this. I don't know, that game yesterday, Wisconsin-Kentucky. Bo, Ryan, Calipari, those players played great on both sides of the ball. Both teams played absolutely wonderful. It was a shame that someone actually had to lose that game. And I don't know who would have won the game coming up with Connecticut, or that would have been a heck of a matchup as well. But now we have Kentucky. Bo Ryan, John Calipari. Obviously, Calipari has more experience at this. It's actually not Bo Ryan and John Calipari. It's Kevin Ollie and John Calipari. Calipari has been here many times. These one-and-done teams that he has with all these freshmen. Let's give him credit. It's hard to coach kids, especially kids that know that in a couple months, if they choose to go pro, they're going to be getting multi-million-dollar contracts, and they don't have to listen to anybody. But these guys play for John. He molds them into a team. He makes them play unselfishly, and you can just see it. These guys are no longer freshmen, and they're favored in this game. They're favored in this game, and over Connecticut, 2.5, 3, 134 is the total. You're probably going to see a little bit more of an up and down game because of the style of play. So let's look at this matchup: Wisconsin against Kentucky. What happened in that game? Bo Ryan did a heck of a job with this Wisconsin team, and Wisconsin represented the Big Ten exceptionally well. You talk about Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Of all those teams, Wisconsin played the best through this tournament, through the NCAA tournament, and they easily played toe-to-toe with Kentucky in that game. Both Ryan and Calipari did a great job, but it's that board play by Kentucky that kills you. They just keep going to the boards, going to the boards, going to the boards. Wisconsin hit the threes, and they hit their free throws. I think they only missed one free throw, and that was the margin of victory. So I mean, it wasn't for the Harrison clutch three game winner at the end. Wisconsin will be moving on, but they're not, and Kentucky is, and they are because they play a different brand of basketball. They're not the same style of basketball as some of these other clubs, but they have such physicality, and every position is being played by a potential pro, a basketball player. So there's a lot of talent here, and yes, these guys are going to be moving on to the pros, but Wisconsin did a heck of a job. Either team could have won. The way the ball bounced, Kentucky and Calipari moves on, and now we have Kevin Ollie against John Calipari. As I said, Kevin Ollie, who was handpicked by Jim Calhoun, is doing a fabulous job. He has a long history of playing in the NBA, short-term contracts, moved around to a lot of teams, but he knows the game, and he knows how to handle these players and mold them together. He has a more senior version, there's no question. He's got some players on this team that have been around for a while. And Shabazz Napier is unbelievable. Ryan Boatwright is playing extremely well. Daniels and all the others are playing well as well. Calipari has the kids. They open 3, 2.5. You can find both numbers if you wish. They're favored, and the total's around 133.5, 134. What's going to happen in this game? Well, and who's going to win? It takes a lot of analysis to try to figure that out. When you look at the numbers, this Kentucky team, I think, has now won 5 games, if I'm not mistaken, by 5 points or less, something like that. They just beat Wisconsin by 1, Michigan by 3. That was another Harrison jump shot. Louisville by 5. Wichita was the other game I mentioned before. It was a great game. They won by 2, and they beat Kansas State back on March 21st by 7. And they've covered every game. The last one, arguably, you could say was a push against Wisconsin, but the way the line closed, it was probably a pick 'em. They probably covered that. And you're talking about Connecticut. They've also covered 5 straight games and 7 out of the last 8. And the only loss was when they lost to Louisville by 10, getting 8. But that was in the conference. So we have one heck of a matchup coming up as far as the ratings are concerned. And power ratings are great for making lines, but it's the matchups and the game plan that determines the winners, and that's why we have these teams here. When I make a line on this game, if I was going to go back to November, December, I'd be looking at two different numbers than I'm looking at today. But Kentucky looks like they should be 1 to 3 point favorite, and that's exactly where they are. The question is, what's going to prove the difference here? A lot of people are going to tell you that the guard play for Connecticut is their strength, and that's the only way they can win is if they're hitting outside shots. That's not true, because even against Wisconsin, much of their play, and when you look at how Daniels was able to get 10 rebounds and 20 points, he's not necessarily an outside shooter. He gets a lot of points on the inside. They got a lot of points on the inside. However, Wisconsin is not the size team that Kentucky is. Kentucky is dominant, and I mean dominant on the boards. And they get a lot of 2 points, 2-point baskets. They don't hit a lot of outside shots. They don't try a lot of outside shots. So what you have here is you have Boatwright and Napier are going to try to drive to the bucket when they're not shooting from the outside. They're going to set up their internal game, the other players, for easier baskets underneath, but they're going to be going against some very big physical players. Now, one note that I should make about Kentucky, and we're going to have to check on this as an injury or not. Poitras, who was critical to Kentucky's win, in the celebration after the game, he ended up on the ground with his leg bent, and he was limping quite badly that night. So what's going to happen here, I cannot tell you about that injury, but we're gonna keep on top of it, and we'll use that in our selection process as we move forward. So we will be back to you. We'll have stuff up online, and we have a big mismatch in the NBA going today, online only. No salesman will call for that. And just go to our website and get those plays, as we will have everything there. And we will also have plays up for this game and the total. I'm sure we'll have an opinion on that as well. And it's been a great NCAA tournament. We've enjoyed the NIT, the CIT, the CBI. All been good. College basketball is a great sport. Now, we've got NBA playoffs starting next week, and we're going to be on top of that too. Right now, a lot of the teams aren't playing. Other teams are, and we have to handicap a little bit differently at the present moment for that. But when the NBA playoffs start, we will be ready, and everybody's going to be motivated. So nobody's going to be laying down to try to get higher draft choices and all that stuff. So that's our story for today, and thank you for listening.